This week in physical education, we are going camping. Imagine that we all just woke up and we're excited for our camping trip. Let's do our dynamic stretches. Let's do some Frankenstein. How about some knee hugs? And let's try a new one today. It's called high knees. Okay, we are ready to get in the car. It's all packed up, go up to the mountains, and arrive at our campsite. The first thing we need to do is set up our tent. So we're going to do a yoga stretch that looks like a tent pose. Start standing tall with your feet stepped out beyond shoulder level. Raise your arms out to the side, parallel to the floor. Turn your right foot so it points directly out to the side, and bend at your hips. Reach your right hand towards the ceiling. Oh, that doesn't make sense. Okay. Right hand towards the ceiling, that's what it says, and your left hand towards your shin of your left leg. Your knees should be straight and locked in. And try looking up at your right hand. Oh, wow. They look like a tent pole. Now let's repeat it on the other side. Turn your left foot out so it points directly out to the side. Bend at your hips and reach your left hand towards the ceiling and your right hand towards your shin of your right leg. And that, oh, boys and girls, let's not forget to breathe while we're doing our yoga poses. Deep breaths in and deep breaths out. Very important in yoga. And that is our tent pose. We found a great spot under a tree. It's time to do our yoga tree pose. You might remember this from a couple weeks ago when we did the Getting to Know You activity. Stand tall with your toes touching and your heels slightly apart. That's interesting. Reach your arms out to the side. Move your right foot up your left leg, turning your right leg out to the right as far as you feel comfortable. Raise your arms up towards the sky, breathing in and out, and focus on a certain spot in front of you to help you keep your balance. Now let's repeat it on the left side. We're standing tall, toes touching, heels slightly apart. We're reaching our arms out to the side, moving our left foot up our right leg, and turning our left leg out to the left as far as we feel comfortable. And we're breathing as we raise our arms up towards the sky and focusing on a spot to help us with our balance. And that's our tree yoga pose. Now that we have our tent set up by a tree, it's time for a hike. We will remember to bring our compass so we don't get lost. A compass helps us tell which direction we're traveling in. For the compass pose for yoga, we're going to sit on the floor with our legs spread out to the side in front of us. We're going to stretch our arms above our head and breathe. And then we're going to move our arms out to the side, out to our sides. Now let's try moving our arms to different positions on the compass. East and west, with our arms parallel to the ground. Let's move our arms east and west and north and south. So parallel to the ground, different directions of the compass. And your legs should be apart as far as you feel comfortable. And I like the way our demonstrators are breathing and moving their arms in different directions of the compass. And that is our compass pose. All of a sudden, we see something behind us, and we are chased by an animal in the forest. Let's run in place for 30 seconds to try to get away from the animal. This is a chance to get our heart rates up in the middle of our yoga camping activity. And stop. Phew! We outchased that animal. Let's check our heart rates. Can you find your heart rate? Show me how fast it's beating. Good job. That animal that was chasing us happened to be a bear. So it's time for the bear pose. Start on your hands and knees with your toes curled under. Lift your hips up towards the sky by straightening your legs. Hands remain on the floor. Breathe in and breathe out. Let your head hang down. Come out of the position by lowering your knees back down to the floor. Some of you that do yoga might recognize this as the downward dog pose. It's the same thing. Let's do it one more time. Lift our hips up towards the sky by straightening our legs and hanging our head down. And don't forget to breathe. And lower your knees back to the ground. After that, we saw some insects on our hike. For the insect pose, you lay on your stomach and you raise your legs behind you. Reach back and grab your feet with your hands, if you can.
A sock.
Okay. If you need help with a sock or some other item, but look at our demonstrators, they have done it. Hold the pose and don't forget to breathe. Nice insects. The last thing we saw on our hike was some birds. For the bird pose, you stand tall with your toes touching and your heels slightly apart. Reach your arms out to the side. Lean forward while lifting one leg behind you, straight behind you. Flap your arms like a bird, and don't forget to breathe. Bring your leg down, and let's repeat it with the opposite leg. Reach your arms out to the side. Lean forward while lifting the other leg behind you, and flap your arms like a bird, and don't forget to breathe. And that, boys and girls, is the bird pose for our camping yoga. I would like you to choose your favorite pose that we did today between tent, tree, compass, bear, insect, and bird, and do it one more time. So let's see what our demonstrators choose as their favorite. Ms. Janez is choosing the tree pose, and Ms. Contreras is choosing the bear pose. And then they're going to come back out a bit, and Ms. Janez is going to try it on the other side. If you want to, we are going to race each other down to the lake. So let's run in place for 20 seconds. Last one to the lake is a rotten egg. First one takes its place. And stop. We made it to the lake. It is time for a canoe ride. For the canoe pose, we sit on the floor with our knees bent and feet flat on the floor. Make sure your back is nice and straight. We're sitting on the floor with our back nice and straight, feet flat on the floor, knees bent. Very nice. Okay, lean back slightly with your arms straight out in front of you. Leaning back slightly. Now lift your legs slightly off the floor and try to balance on your bottom. Rock back and forth if you're able, like a canoe, or just hold it if that's enough of a challenge for your core. Just balancing on your bottom. And drop your feet. And let's try it one more time and not forget to breathe. Lift your feet slightly off the floor, balancing on your bottom, and taking breaths in and out. This could be a challenging one for some of us. Now that we're out on the lake, we did remember to bring along our rod and reel so we can try to catch a fish. For the fish pose, we lay flat on our back with our legs squeezed together and pointing our toes. So our toes should not be touching or pointing to the sky. They should be pointed at the wall. And we're going to prop ourselves up on our elbows, keeping our hands flat on the floor. So prop yourself up on your elbows. Some kids like to watch TV like this, I think. Now lift your belly and chest off the ground, which they've already done, and let your head rest back. And hold and breathe. Breathe in and out while you're holding this fish pose. And that is our fish pose. Now we get up and we race each other back to our campsite after we get out of the canoe. Here we go. 20 seconds. Racing each other back to the campsite. And stop. By the time we get back to our campsite, it starts to get dark and we can see the moon. The moon pose. We stand tall with our feet flat on the floor. We lift our hands above our head, putting the palms together while we breathe in, and then we breathe out as we lean towards our right, leaning at the hips. We breathe in and go back to standing tall, and then we breathe out as we lean towards our left side, and we look like a crescent moon. and back to standing tall. Next, we start a campfire to sit around. For the fire pose, you start seated crisscross on the floor. You place your hands in front of your chest with your palms pressed together. Now we're going to breathe in and raise our arms above our head, and breathe out, clap them together, and bring them back in front of our chest. Repeating, raise your hands out to your sides, up above your head, and breathe out, clap them together, and bring them down in front of your chest. And that is the fire pose. We find rocks to sit on around the campfire. For the rock pose, you kneel on the floor with your toes touching. You sit back on your heels and spread your knees shoulder width apart. Move your head towards the floor as you breathe out. For this one, you just relax and breathe. Relax and breathe. And that is our rock pose. While we're sitting on those rocks around our campfire, we look up at all the stars we see in the sky. For the star pose, you're going to stand with your feet wide apart. Reach your hands out to the side as far apart as you can. Kind of like our star jump in last week's activity, we're going to have our arms maybe up, like halfway between straight up and out to our side. And stand as nice and tall as we can and breathe in and out. In and out. Okay, now I would like you to choose your favorite pose of those last 6 we just did. They were canoe, fish, moon, campfire, rocks, and stars. Which one is your favorite of those last 6 we did? Miss Janez is going to choose the rock pose. And Miss Contreras is also choosing the rock pose. That is the favorite of both our demonstrators. I'm wondering, what is your favorite?